Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, where we help businesses scale through outside-the-box visibility and automation strategies. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. So excited to have you here. Please stay to the end because I have a special gift just for you. And without further ado, I'd like to kick us off and introduce my guest today, Tara Landis with Bellrock. So welcome, Tara, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
I am excited to chat with you. So, Tara, can you share with us a little bit about yourself, about Bellrock, and your role within the company?
Sure. Well, about me, I'm a daughter and a wife and a mother of two boys, and I'm a dog mom too. And I'm Canadian. And I started Bellrock in 2008. I'm the founder of the company because I had moved back to Vancouver, Canada, where I'm originally from, after having done small business consulting throughout North America. And I just didn't want to be on an airplane all the time anymore. And so I started looking for companies here locally that needed help and support. So two sides of our business. One side is on strategic planning and implementation, where we help smaller organizations figure out where they're going next and how to get there and how to find the right people. And we also help implement the solutions that we recommend. And the other side of our business is management training. And that's the part that is, for me, most fun to talk about, I guess, where we take managers. It's a little different than traditional management training. We run a 3-hour class once a month online, but synchronous. So you have to be there on time. And we go through all of the basic foundational principles of management. It's stuff that people often don't learn in school or in other classes. How to delegate, how to motivate, how to have really tough conversations. And all of our classes come with one-on-one coaching. So that's one of the things that makes it unique, where people get to learn the principles from the classes, but then we get to have our one-on-one conversations about their specific situation.
I love that you bring in that accountability piece of that one-on-one time, because I think it's really important for businesses. I've noticed that when I'm working with a company and when they were, say, we were the client and they would give us the information in a huge group, it's great. Or you're taking these classes, it's great. But when I was getting the one-on-one, I noticed I got further faster than when I didn't receive the one-on-one. So I know that that's a big piece. I'm sure that really helps. Not only do you have that classes and that training, but you also have that support system behind it, because we all need our hand-holding.
Well, yeah, and I would say it's not even the hand holding, although you're right, there is some of that. But if you get exposed to something once,
right,
it doesn't make you an expert. You have to try. It's like watching a video on how to drive and thinking, oh, okay, now I got it. I got 2 teenage boys and I've gone through these driving lessons as a driver. I got to tell you, watching a video once does not make you a great driver. Even if you watch the whole series of F1, you still aren't a great driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got a son that's coming up. My daughter's driving now. She's 17. My son's getting his permit soon. So I've got a son in the house and I'm really nervous. I was nervous about her. I'm more nervous about him. Okay. So Tara, your Bellrock positions itself differently from traditional consulting companies, and you focus heavily on implementation. Why do so many strategic plans fail once it's time to actually execute?
I think there are a whole host of reasons. But specifically in the market that we operate in, I think the number one reason strategic plans fail is because they don't have people who are professional managers that have the capacity to implement whatever the solutions are. If you go to a larger organization, there are people whose whole job it is to put these things in place. When you're in a smaller organization, the quote unquote managers typically spend most of their time in individual contributor roles. And off the side of their desk, they're trying to get these sort of deeper thinking, higher level management type things accomplished. They just don't have the capacity to do it. They might know how, they might not know how, but either way, there's a time component as well. And that's why the implementation is so important from our perspective. Again, coming up with a strategy, it's great. You got to do it. You need that first step, but one step isn't enough.
So if I'm correct, you work with businesses, growing businesses in the 10 employee to 100 employee group. Am I correct there?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard these days to measure it in terms of employees just with AI. But yes, that's our traditional metric. Another way to say it is, other than distribution or really low margin organizations, it's usually between, 5 and 100 million in revenue.
So, what operational or leadership challenges tend to emerge at this stage of growth that you work with?
Oh my gosh. Well, this capacity thing is one of them. There's also, when you first start a business and when it's small, your most valuable employee is usually the one who can do a little bit of everything reasonably well. Like they're a great Swiss Army knife. But as an organization grows, they need more specialized tools. You wouldn't build a house if all you had was a Swiss Army knife, because
Mhm.
just sawing the lumber would take your whole lifetime. And so making that transition, I think for what they need, it takes them a while to figure out what they need and then to allow their people to grow into those roles.
And you mentioned managers and their role. Like a
Mm,
lot of managers are promoted because of they were technically strong or they have a
yep.
specific skill, not because they were necessarily trained to lead people. So, how much does that gap actually cost organizations in productivity, culture, and growth?
I can't give you a number, but I can tell you it's enormous. And here's why. Not only did they put someone in management who doesn't maybe necessarily know what management is, so they've taken someone and put them in ineffectively, but they're also leading all of the people underneath them ineffectively. So that also reduces productivity. And they took their best individual contributor out of the game. So it's like they fired their best they didn't fire them, but it's like they fired their best person and hired someone who's not nearly as competent to manage all of the other people. So it's a very, very costly mistake. Not to mention, not everybody wants to manage people. It's a different skill set, and not everybody likes that job, and not everybody wants that job. So there can be huge costs to making that decision.
Yeah. So you have a phrase that sticks out on your website, which is making change stick.
Mm.
Why is sustainable implementation so challenging inside organizations or difficult, even when everyone agrees that change is
Yeah.
needed?
Yeah, again, hundreds of reasons. We've divided it into four categories. So we call these roadblocks to implementation, and they're the reasons why it is that companies and individuals have so much trouble with change. And the analogy that I've always used, but I'm going to have to change now that the GLP-1 drugs have come along. But I've always used the analogy of weight loss. If you think about it's December 31st, 2026. And I would bet you, and don't quote me on these numbers, but I would bet you about 200 million people in North America are going to resolve to lose weight on
Mm.
that day. And they know what they need to do, right? They need to exercise, they need to drink more water, get better sleep. Hey, if they're not getting outside, maybe they need to buy a dog. But the point is, it's not rocket surgery. They know what they need to do to lose that weight. And yet, if I took all of those people and put them on a scale on December 31st, 2027, I bet the weight would have gone up. And why is that? Well, it's the same thing in organizations. So there are these four categories of reasons. And one of them is just intellectual or thinking roadblocks. Like you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
If you didn't know that having a budget makes you 8 times more likely to be profitable than not having a budget, then maybe you wouldn't create a budget because, hey, the numbers are never going to work out at the end of the year anyway. And how are we supposed to predict it? We don't have a time machine. We can't see the future. And so people have learned not to do the things that are proven best practices. Create a job description. It's the most efficient way to communicate to an organization what you want people to do for a living. Oh, I'm not going to have a job description. That's just a reason for people to say it's not in my job description. Well, sure, but the clarity that it creates is so critical. So there are these intellectual or thinking roadblocks. Another category is emotion,
Mm.
right? Biggest emotion associated with change is fear, fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear that if I pay my best salespeople more than all the other salespeople, the other ones are going to find out and they're going to quit. Fear that if I don't pay my best one more than all the other ones, then she's going to find out and she's going to quit, right? It can cut both ways. And it can be so debilitating when it comes to change. There's also habits, right? We've been just doing it for so long this way that we don't even notice we're doing it anymore. And perspective. We all have different perspectives and we're all completely right in our perspectives. And so because we're all correct, right? Because it's just how we see the world, sometimes that too can get in the way of change and getting those plans really implemented and sticking.
Yeah, you said something which is really a great takeaway. It's structure, creating a structure within your organization. Because what they say, discipline creates freedom. We feel like, oh, if we create a job description, then they're going to say, well, that's not in my job description. But again, it creates freedom because in clarity, like you said, clarity is key.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with that clarity becomes more productivity and efficiency because they're clear on what their role is. And you can also hire the best people for that specific role when people are clear on what that role, the definition of what that role is, amongst everything
Absolutely.
you said, which was incredible. And a budget, really, when I didn't realize that when you create a budget, you're 8 times more likely to be profitable.
Yes, in smaller organizations, that's true. It's just the act of planning. The
Right.
act of planning has significant benefit. And they're 100% correct that the numbers won't work out properly at the end of the year because they're 100% correct that nobody has a time machine. But the idea of creating a budget is saying this is what we think is going to happen. Oh, and here's what a worst case scenario looks like. Oh, and here's what a best case scenario looks like. And so they're trying to live in the future a little bit to have some plans for when things inevitably unfold in a different way. And
Right.
so that's what causes that improvement.
Yeah. And it's okay not to have the numbers work out and
You can't.
right. They just knowing that they won't is clarity. Like, they're not going to. And having that and knowing what the numbers are at the end of the year, end of the fiscal year, whatever that looks like for each organization, is better. It's easier to plan for the following year, right?
You got it.
More and more
Exactly.
clear every year going forward.
You
Yeah.
get better at it every year, but you'll never get it perfect. And if somebody's getting their budgeting perfect with the actuals, there's something fishy going on there.
Good point. So, Tara, you've trained in both change management and influence principles. What have you learned about getting real buy-in from teams instead of forcing top-down compliance?
I love this question. And with so many lessons, I'm going to choose a very simple one, which is the word yes. We hear it all the time as leaders. We hear the word yes. Can you do this? Yes. I even think of my own home, when I ask my children to clean up, clean your room. Okay. And there's so many different kinds of yes. There's the actual yes that means, yes, I heard what you said and I'm going to go and do that thing. That makes sense. Then there's the yes that says, I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm processing. I'm understanding. I'm not agreeing though. I'm just processing. And then there's the yes you get from the kids when you ask them to clean their room. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I ignore this for long enough, it'll go away, right? So there's different kinds of yes. And I think one of the best ways to make sure that your messages are being heard is to get that first kind of yes, that true yes, where people are explaining back to you what they understand.
And how do we get that?
Well, we ask questions. No, I mean, we ask questions. I need you to do this thing. Yeah, okay. Okay, so what's your plan? How are you going to do the thing? And what do you think might get in the way? And what resources do you think you need? And getting the answers to those questions reinforces that yes, makes sure that they understand.
Yeah. So we are in the age of AI, Sarah, right? And it's here to stay. It's not going away. A couple of years ago, we could decide if we wanted to dabble in it or not, and now we really it's either we grow with it or we learn what works for us and learn to grow with it, or we're going to might miss it. So you've been experimenting with AI tools internally while also maintaining strong human oversight. So where do you think businesses are using AI effectively right now? And on the flip side, where are they creating risk or dependency?
I am not an expert in AI. I am, as you said, a dabbler. But what I will say is that I think businesses are using AI well as a thinking partner. So I do the thinking first, Then I put my thinking in AI and see what it has to say about it. I think it's a great way to uncover blind spots and biases. You can ask it what biases may be at play. So I think that is a really great use. What I don't think is a good use is first thinking or first drafts. We need to still do that basic initial work ourselves. That's part of human in the loop, is starting with the human.
Yeah, I love that answer. I love how you responded to that because I think that's key for a lot of businesses, especially smaller businesses. If you just input something and go, give it to me, it's one, it's not going to be yours. It's not going to be you that it's working off of. It's going to be all the other input that it's been given. And I think it's a great tool at, just as you shared, about really putting in your thoughts, your information, and then helping it support you in that, and then tweaking it again
Yeah.
before you actually, utilize that information. So let's talk about the future of junior talent with AI. So you recently wrote about AI eliminating junior work and the unintended consequences of that shift. How do companies continue developing capable future leaders if AI removes the struggle that traditionally built that expertise?
Put the struggle back in. I realize that it can be a short-term profit hit, but I just don't see how we're going to create great future leaders if we don't allow them to struggle a little bit. That's what sharpens your abilities, is all anybody, I don't care who's listening right now, there is a lesson that you won very hard. Something happened that maybe even left a few scars, and we need people to experience that. That's how humans figure things out. So if we, it's kind of like learning your multiplication tables, right? Kids in grade 3 are still memorizing multiplication tables. Why? We have calculators. Why? Why bother? Well, because we need the foundations. And so I think it's incredibly important for organizations to continue building those foundational skills within their staff and then put it through the LLM. And then, create the first draft. You, person, create the first draft and then put it through the LLM. Maybe the LLM can be your teacher, but you have to start.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's so good. And I heard today actually on the radio, driving my son to school, how a lot of organizations really took on AI quickly and they let go of a lot of their employees. And now they're looking to rehire because AI is just not it's not giving the output that they really wanted, or they're not doing it as well as the humans were doing it. Now, not to say AI is not going to catch up. We've got, changing, it's evolving daily. But really building, and developing your team from the inside, the humans, is really, really important. So I agree with you completely. Many businesses become overly dependent on the founder. So what are some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing owners make when trying to scale a company beyond themselves?
Well, I was in that situation myself, actually. So, you start a consulting firm, it's a small business, and people were hiring me, not Bellrock. And so what do you do? And what you have to do is build other leaders. You have to pull yourself out of those jobs one at a time, whatever they might be. And how you do that is you find people who are better at it than you are. The story I'm enjoying telling the most around this is my colleague Andrea. There was a time when in a small service firm, the leader spends a lot of time doing promotion and doing sales, business development. There's a lot of events you go to. There's a lot of coffee you drink over coffee meetings. I mean, a lot of coffee. And it's never been my favorite thing to do. It's been a necessary thing to do. It's been part of my job. I think I'm okay at it, but I don't particularly like it. And there was one time I had this event I was supposed to go to, and I just didn't have time for it that day. And I was lamenting this to Andrea, and I was saying, God, I got this thing. And she said, well, I've got time, I'll do it. And I said to her, no, I would never make you do something like that. And she said, make me do it. I love doing that stuff. And I'm like, no, come on. You want to go into a group of strangers that you've never met. And she's like, yes, I literally feel like I'm getting away with something when I get to do that. And even though I know these things intellectually, it was that moment where emotionally it shifted for me. And I realized, oh, I don't actually have to do that thing that I don't like to do. And when you look at our funnel right now, our sales funnel, most of the opportunities in there are from Andrea, not from me. And that is a revolution in our business.
Yeah.
So
Light bulb.
find the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It like fireworks. So find the people who like to do the things that you don't like to do and get them to do those things and just keep finding those people and keep peeling off those things.
Yeah. So whatever you have to do to figure out what it is you really don't like, when you're doing something, you're like, oh, I just don't want to do. Write it down so you know
Yeah.
when you're ready to bring somebody in. Sometimes we got to hire before we're ready, but you know you can prioritize. Okay, what's the first thing I want off my list? What's the first thing
Yeah.
I want off of my plate? That you can bring somebody that's really good at it and loves it, right? And then your workload becomes less. You're doing the things you really enjoy doing, and your business is going to thrive because everybody's happy and they're doing where their zone of genius really lies.
And
I love that light bulb went off for you and you had that opportunity, and without even knowing that she loves this, she thrives on it.
and what I love about what you're saying is the idea of not going further and not just saying, okay, well, Marcus Buckingham talks about a red card, green card exercise. Green things are the things that give you energy. Red things are the things that take energy away. But even going a step further and saying 5 years from now, what should this company look like? And it's like, what's the staffing complement if I'm not there, which doesn't mean I'm building to not be there. I want to work forever. It's not that. It's similar to the concept of building to sell. Maybe you don't ever want to sell, but you want to have a saleable, scalable business. Well, that's true on the people side. So figure out what the org chart looks like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and don't assume that you are in it.
Yeah.
Just figure out what the positions are and then go find the best people to do those roles.
Yeah. And that's a great point. And I've heard it said, like, think about it. If you were to leave, go on vacation for a week or two,
Mm,
because as
hmm
entrepreneurs, right, we can,
hmm
what I heard something recently and it really like made me laugh. And it also like was a light bulb for me. It's like entrepreneurs leave, they work 80 hours. They don't have to work a 40-hour job, 40-hour a week job for someone else. So they'll work 80 hours for themselves, right?
Yeah,
But think about it, if you like, can you go on vacation for 2 weeks without the business falling apart, or are you able
exactly.
or not able to do that? Then you need to start thinking about who are you going to bring in so you can eventually do that, and you can allow those people to really shine and thrive and do the things that they're really good at, better than, because we're not good at everything, right? If we're definitely not good at anything. Tara, let's talk about your growth because you have a team. And so I would love to know for you, I know that you've mentioned some things on how you get your clients and how you're keeping business coming and how you're growing. What are some of the things marketing and visibility wise that you're doing or have done that have moved the needle forward and worked for you? And then on the flip side, and you can answer this separately, on the flip side, what are some of the things that you thought would you just didn't get you the ROI that you had thought it
Mhm.
would by implementing that strategy?
Uh, well, on the plus side, and this was a fluke and not by, well, it was by design, but I didn't think it would work. Let me explain. When I started the business in 2008, as I said, I was drinking an awful lot of coffee in these coffee meetings and meeting a lot of people, and I needed a way to stay in touch. The thing about what we do when we're business consultants is nobody needs you until the moment they need you. And so you have to kind of be in their face in that moment. And so I started writing a newsletter I would send out once a month, and it had a blog. So every week or every month, I wrote a blog article. Well, here we are almost 20 years later, and we've got this monthly content that's been going out. And what has been so effective in that is not just being in people's inbox once a month, although that's incredible. It's been incredibly effective because every time a newsletter goes out, somebody calls about something. So there's always somebody calling about something. But also, and I don't know this for sure, but I think in this age of AI now and the AI searches, because our content was not written as marketing copy, but it was written as how to do things and instructions and helping, like literally helping small business owners. Here is how you do the thing you're asking about. We're getting so many leads coming in right now from AI. And
Mm.
almost every time I ask someone, where did you hear about us? It used to be someone else or it used to be Google or that kind of thing. I was in ChatGPT. That's just constantly now what we're getting. And I think it's because the content was so usable. So I think that's what was going on there.
We're seeing, and that's, I love that you brought up the chat and the AI lead gen, because that's becoming a new staple for lead generation that people aren't thinking about yet. And I just spoke with somebody recently who actually helps businesses through SEO and through the agentic or the AI type of lead generation. Because it's becoming the way. It's coming to, that's where people are going for their leads. Google's becoming less and less, and like ChatGPT is becoming more and more the place that people are going. So if as a business, if you can get your SEO, like SEO is so important. What you said, putting out so much information. If you haven't done that, you should definitely start doing that now. Put out informational content so that when chat is looking or somebody asks the question, you start ranking as one of the people, especially for those local businesses. That's how a lot of companies are getting more local business now, is through ChatGPT. So I find it amazing and interesting that that's happening for you, because it's becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take it a step further, because you also, the other side of this question was, what did you do that didn't work? And we have invested way too much money on marketing agencies that talk to us about the words that are going to rank in SEO. For example, the argument that I've had with at least 4 different marketing agencies is, I say we do management training because that's what we do. Because leadership training and leadership development is different than management training. But what the marketing agency says back to me is, but people are looking for leadership development. You should talk about leadership development, not management training, because that's what people are looking for. And that may be true. Generically, globally, people are looking for leadership development, but it's not what we do. So why am I going to use words? Yeah, I get it that it ranks, but as soon as they get there, they're going to find out they came to the wrong place.
Right.
So I want to tell people what we do. I want to help them do those things. And I want to stay away from the more gimmicky, transactional kind of, if I could trick them into the door somehow, then maybe they'll stay and see something they like. Like, we don't sell Costco chickens, so that people have to walk by all the shelves to get their chicken. We don't want them to have to be tricked in that way. And so I think for AI, that is what sort of the game changer for us is. Finally, it's paying off that we held the line on that and wouldn't go for that fake attention grabbing.
Yeah. And when somebody looks up wants management training, you're going to rank, because
we
that's
rank.
Exactly what you do. So, and that's a great point too. When you're wanting to develop and because SEO does matter for, so that when you're findable, but make sure that you're using the SEO keywords that are actually fitting for your company, and stand on that. I think a lot of agencies out there, they're so worried about, they want to make sure that they're getting results. They don't care how they get them, unfortunately. I'm not saying most of them. I'm just saying they just want to get you results. So they're trying to find the way to make that happen. But you also need to stand true to who you actually serve and what you actually do. So you don't want to feel like it's a bait and switch. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to talk to people that aren't a fit either. Right.
Yeah. And I want to just be clear that I don't think the marketing agencies were trying to do a bait and switch. I think they also didn't understand the difference between leadership development and management training. And so if they don't know the difference, that is incumbent upon us to get the messaging right, not them. So it's not that they were providing bad advice. It's that they didn't understand the advice they were providing. And it was our job to educate them better.
Which is good feedback, right? Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good thing. That's a good point too. As a business owner, for those of you listening, your messaging matters. So, talking to people and making sure that it's your messaging and what you do is clear to them is key. Because if it's not clear, Tara talked about clarity earlier. If it's not clear, it's going to be really hard for your people to find you, and vice versa. So, Tara, for you, what's next for you guys? Like, if we could bring you back in, say, 12 months and revisit this conversation, what are the big goals that you have?
We're going to be working with a lot more companies on implementation work. We focused on our management training business quite a bit, and it was quite successful. We're going to let that one run for a bit and get back to the roots of implementation and really embedding consultants in small businesses to have meaningful, strong impact and take them to the next level. And I expect that side of the business to double within the next 12 months.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So can you share with us some of the big that you started in 2008? What were some of the challenges you faced or maybe won? And how did you overcome it?
I guess when I started, other than all the, not feeling confident in myself and that kind of thing, one of the biggest challenges I had is I did not have a professional network in Vancouver. So I had been working, as I said, all over North America. I had different pockets but there was nothing here. And so I had to find a way to get in front of people. And I'm selling, thinking. So how do you get in front of somebody and demonstrate that you know something that is of value to them? And so that was the biggest challenge when we were getting going. What I did is I started doing mystery shopping at trade shows, and I would go to different business to business trade shows, and I would mystery shop the booths, and then I would look up the lists and find who the owners were, and then I would call the local owners, and I would say, I was there, I was doing this work. Do you want the report? Do you want to know what happened? I'd be happy to come in and deliver it, no charge. I also want to tell you about what we do at Bellrock. Are you open to that? So that was my big idea. Of 100 people that I would phone, I would only get through to 3 because of all of the gatekeeping, just trying to get through. Of the 3 that I got through to, 2 would usually say yes. Of the 2 that said yes, only one of them would actually show up to the meeting where I delivered the results. And by the way, the meeting was at their office. I was going to them, and they would still be, I don't know, hiding or something. But I won't say that this is the most efficient way to develop a business, but it worked. We got one client, and then another client, and then another client, and then word of mouth started to kick in.
Yeah, it's boots on the ground, right, Tara?
It was hard. It's a slog. It's a
Yeah.
slog.
And I think that's still in play. I don't think, we see so much on social media, and I love that you shared that your story, because we see so much on social media of like, oh, get out there, just post as much as you can, like do all of that stuff and they'll come. And there's nothing like the old way of doing things. And I don't know if old's the right way, but
It's old.
the tried and true, like that'll never end. I don't think, because I think people, especially now with AI, people still want relationship. They still want that face-to-face interaction. And you're going to stand out because people aren't doing that as much as they used to. So when you actually do that and you have the conversation, they're going to be like, oh, you want to see me in person? You're going to come to me and you're going to share and you're just going to do this. Okay. That's awesome.
And delivering the value when you get there. Absolutely. That's the other thing. Whether you're talking about clicking through on a link or whether you're talking about going to a meeting, whatever it is, every time somebody gives you a little bit of their attention, you need to give them more value in return, because attention is very valuable to people.
Yeah. And it's very fickle. It goes quickly. Yeah. Attention spans are short. So one last question for you, Tara, is maybe not, but if I could give you a magic wand and you can wave it over one challenge you're having right now that you go poof and take it away, what would that be and why?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I really want that magic wand. We'll talk later about, 3 easy payments of $9.95. But yeah, no, I think if I had a magic wand and I could fix one thing, I would really work on just messaging. I don't getting the message out to more people that it doesn't have to be this hard. And I don't know how to get that message out without sounding like it's not true. It is really hard. Like growing a business is really hard, but it's very possible. And so many people have already done it. You don't have to invent it. You can borrow the lessons of so many others. And particularly for small business, I just wish we could get that message out better, that whatever the biggest challenge is, someone's probably solved it.
Yeah. Success leaves clues, right, Tara?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because you're starting a business, you don't have to lone wolf it. You don't have to be like, okay, I'm the first one to figure this out. It's been done. People have created multi-million dollar, billion dollar businesses, and there's ways to do it that will get you through moving forward faster. It just depends on if you're willing to listen and
Yeah.
take the steps and take the action to implement. So what are the ways that you have been getting the message out that have I know you're here, so you do
Yeah.
podcasts. What are some other things that you're doing now?
We do podcasts, we do speaking engagements, we send out newsletters. We talk on panels, we write articles, we publish in newspapers for as long as those continue to last. We create content. That's what we do. We create content so that people can be exposed to something that hopefully they see a value and hopefully gets them curious enough to ask a question, because it doesn't have to be that hard. And if you're doing it alone, that's your choice. You're choosing to try and do it alone.
What would you say to somebody that's like, oh my gosh, I got to be, they say I have to be everywhere, but it's
Mm.
exhausting and I can't be everywhere right now. Cause it sounds like you're everywhere. Right. So just hearing that, somebody can be like, that's a lot. How am I going to do that? So what would you say to somebody first, in order for them to be visible, to what
Mhm.
would be a strategic process they can follow, or a few steps that they could take just to kind of feel like, okay, I'm not overwhelmed about doing
Mm.
everything all at once. What would
Mhm.
you suggest?
Yeah, well, I would say it really depends on the business, but the point is to pick one thing and do it really well. So I started out doing the mystery shopping and the newsletter. That's what I was doing. That's all I was doing. I didn't have time to do the other things. I was doing that. Then, when that was going, I was able to carve out a bit of time to do another thing and another thing. And then I could hire people to do other things and other things. And so you can look at a business and say, I want to be that when I grow up, and that's fine. But now you have to reverse engineer and be very intentional about what you're going to focus on at each stage.
Perfect. Yeah. And know where your people are, where you're going to
Mm.
start. Make sure your people are there. So if you
Yeah.
don't know who your people are, then that's where the market research comes in. Talk to people, find
Yes.
out what they're looking for, find out that, what the words are that they're using in their head. So you're talking to them where they're not overwhelmed with your messaging. That's another thing that, people with certain terminology in their field can use that terminology, but the everyday user who is their customer doesn't understand that terminology. So you want to make sure that you're talking to your people in the language that they're using, amongst a lot of different things. We would need 2 more hours to go through all of it, Tara, but I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you. Can you share with everybody how they can learn more about you and also Bellrock?
Yeah, well, they should come to www.bellrock.ca. There are lots of great downloadables and giveaways that you can have there. It's all for free. And maybe we'll see you in a management training class sometime.
Absolutely. So go to bellrock.ca. I've been there. It's an amazing website full of information. And reach out to Tara and her team. She's got an awesome team behind her as well, or with her. And make sure that you let them know that you heard her here as well. We'd love for you to share that. If you're listening to us on YouTube or watching us on YouTube, Tara and I say hello. Thank you for being here. If you know somebody that would benefit from hearing Tara today and learning more about Bellrock, please share this out to them. This is how we help other businesses grow. We need everybody's support in sharing the message. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, we would love for you to share this with somebody that you know that would benefit, again, from hearing Tara and learning about Bellrock and what they can do to support them in their management training and growing their business. If you are so inclined and on your favorite podcast platform and can leave a review, we'd love 5 stars. That also helps us by allowing the podcast platform to push this episode out to more people. So Tara and Bellrock can support them. Tara, before I let you go, we also have all of Tara's information and all of her links inside the show notes, so you can go there as well. Tara, before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to share or say that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on today?
No, I think this was a great interview, and I love that the theme of clarity was sort of woven throughout, whether it's the messaging that your business is going to give, or the people that you're going to need in the future, or even just setting a job description. It really is about being clear. So I love that that was the theme for today.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I agree with you. Clarity is extremely important. And a lot of businesses can, if they start there, it's amazing what can shift for them and for your team. I promised you all a gift. I almost forgot to drop it. So if you're looking, Tara shared what's working for her, how she got started, what she's doing now. And if you feel like you're trying a lot of different things to get visible and it's just not sticking and you feel like you're not getting the growth you want, go ahead and download our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. It's free. It's yours. Also, one more time, go to bellrock.ca. Go check out what they have. Go get your free gifts and downloadables that they have to support you, and reach out to Tara. Tara, thank you again for being here. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you. I'm a teen mom too, dog mom too. So it's been awesome having this conversation with you and hearing about your journey.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you all for listening to us on the Business Growth Spotlight. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.